Welcome to my video on radical expressions. First, we want to talk about the square root. A number a is a square root of a number b if a squared is equal to b. So that's our definition of a square root in terms of a number squared. So here's an example. 5 squared is equal to 25. So 5 is the square root of 25. Now, this is our radical symbol. That's what we're talking about here. Just means a square root. The radical symbol indicates a non-negative square root, also called a principal square root. The expression under a radical symbol is called the radicand. So this is the radicand, this is the radical symbol, and we put the radical symbol together with the radicand, and we form a radical equation. And one key point you want to look at here, this is non-negative. If we start talking about the square root of negative numbers, we get into complex numbers, and that's a different subject. So we're not going to cover that in this video. We're going to cover we have positive numbers. Next, we're going to look at the multiplication property of the square root. So if we have a square root of two real numbers, a and b, and we can break this up as the square root of a times the square root of b, where a and b are both greater than or equal to 0. Remember I said this is for non-negative numbers. All right, so let's look at some examples. So first of all, let's take the square root of 150, just take the square root of that. Now we're going to use this property, the multiplication property, and this can be broken up as the square root of 25 times the square root of 6, because 6 times 25 is 150. So a would be 25, and b would be 6. So now the square root of 25 we know as 5 times root 6. So that's a simplification of this. So these are the same thing. Square root of 150 is the same as 5 times root 6. We just use this multiplication property of the square root. So next, let's do another example. Now let's put 2 out in front of the square root of 150 and see what that changes it. So we got 2 times root 25, root of 6. So now the square root of 25 here is just 5, so it's 2 times 5 times root 6 is equal to 10 times the square root of 6. The 2 just carried through. Let's do another example. Take the square root of 48. We can break that up as 16 times 3. 16 times 3 is 48. Now we use our multiplication property. We can break that up as the square root of 16 times the square root of 3. Now we know the square root of 16, that's a perfect square. It's going to be 4, so it's 4 root 3. So all we're doing here is just using the properties of the multiplication property, the square root function, to break these things up into little simpler forms, or different forms. Let's look now at the square root of 160. That's equal to 16 times 10. We know that's root 16 times the root of 10. We just saw that the square root of 16 is 4. Then that's 4 times the root of 10. And that's going to be our answer for that one. We'll do some more examples. So we've got the square root of 54 times x to the 7th power. Now we can break that up because we know 54 is just 6 times 9. And we know x to the 7th is just x times x to the 6th. So we broke that up a little bit. Now we're going to just break it up a little bit further. And some of this you're going to have to just play with. It's not immediately obvious to you. Just keep kind of working with it, and you'll kind of see as things fall out. It just takes time. So we're going to put the 9 times x to the 6 times 6x. We just broke that back up. We just combined the 6 and the x and the 9 and the x squared using the multiplication property. That's what we get. Now that is going to be root 9 times the square root of x to the 6th times the square root of 6x. We know the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 6 to the x is x cubed. And we got 6x, we can't really do anything with that. So we just broke it down into this form right here. So these two are equivalent to each other. Now let's look at the example of, we've got 7z in a radical times 3 times 14 times z squared. Let's simplify that down. We can take the 3 out front and we put everything underneath the radical sign now by our property. So we got 7z times 14z squared. That's equal to 3, and 7 times 14 is 98, and we get z cubed. Now we can break up this 98, it's just 49. Another way of writing this is 49z squared times 2 times z, because we know 49 times 2 is going to be equal to 98, and we just took the z cubed and turned it into z squared and just z to the power of 1. So using our multiplication property, we can break this up again. We get 49 z squared times 2 square root of z. We just use the multiplication property in reverse again. So now the square root of 49 is 7. So that's 3 times 7. And then that's going to be the square root of z, which is just z, times 2 times z. So this is going to be equal to 7 times 3 is 21, z times the root of 2z. So there is our answer. So these two expressions are equivalent to each other, just by using this multiplication property of the radicals. Hope you got something out of this video and learned about radicals. If you did, give me a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.